Hail them.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Hailing frequencies open.
I don't know why I keep giving alien street food a chance. It's always such a gamble.
Captain, we're being hailed.
On screen.
Hello and welcome to another Hailing Frequencies Open podcast where we are trekking through the past and future of Star Trek. I'm your host, Mike Jones, and joining me today, we have two of my co-hosts. First of all, let's see if you can guess the topic. Well, you know the topic because you probably read it on your, podcast player. But let's see if you can guess the topic. Based on how I introduce people, that we're off to a great start.
Oh,
okay.
Mike Jones.
I know. I could re-record all this, but why? His
We're
last meal was probably a protein bar. It's Damien.
Oh,
His last meal was a banana with peanut butter.
It probably was. It probably was a banana with peanut butter.
You've already heard her voice. And she's the reason it smells like kimchi in here. It's Lenita.
Daggone right. Kimchi is good for the soul.
If you haven't guessed it, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say there was a period of time where she had a bucket of kimchi every day at lunch and was just and a giant soup spoon, like a shovel.
I did. I had a kimchi jjigae every day from the old Cafe Duke that is no longer in existence, and it was delicious.
I've never had kimchi.
Ever?
I ever. I
We're
know.
gonna have to rectify that.
Yeah.
Well, I my only experience. Well, I grew up in Taekwondo, which is like a Korean martial art, and so we had Korean food everywhere, and I just kind of turned my nose up at it. I was like a very sort of cheeseburger and fries kind of kid, and then I think my experience with Korean food was really at Lenita's birthday of a certain age.
How old was I turning?
35.
35.
Yes.
Well,
and there was
to celebrate being
and
that
it was
old.
Listen, it was like a room and it was like a prefix menu and stuff came and I had no idea what was what. And everything that was put in front of me went into my mouth and was all delicious. And I learned nothing, but I had a very delicious meal. And at some point I ate and loved kimchi. I just wasn't sure what it was. Of course it was.
And that is fine. That was a good birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I introduced all of the people in my life to my favorite
worlds
cuisine.
colliding. Oh
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
That's a lovely birthday idea. I'll have to do that. If you haven't guessed, our topic today is food. So our goal is to make you hungry by the end of this podcast.
Hope you have an empty stomach.
We are going to talk about food in Star Trek, and both from a fictional perspective, and I think it's interesting to talk about it from a prop perspective, because prop food is a whole other world than real food.
Because it's not real. I randomly in my For You came across a reel of a person, a creator who makes food for advertisements. Here's how I make my ice cream.
Yeah.
And watching the amalgamation of different ingredients turn into what looks like the perfectly scooped ball of cookies and cream, and it's like powdered sugar and I don't know, corn syrup or whatever. I'm like,
right.
No actual ice cream.
She makes, I don't know what pronouns are, syrup that can be peeled off of a pancake.
Oh, wow.
Taking it and reducing it down till it's literally glue and putting it on. It's beautiful. And you just peel it off and pour some more on and readjust. It's fascinating.
I saw a thing with pancakes once where they were using motor oil as the
syrup.
But it looks good.
It does look good. It does look good. And that is why the Whopper will never be what it is on TV, because that, my friend, is placement of single pieces of lettuce and tomato at the edge.
Right.
Little piece
Pinned
of
down. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not even real.
Nope.
Well, Okay, I'm already salivating. So let's I think we should start at the beginning. Um oh, wait. Okay.
Mm.
So when we say beginning, do we mean TOS or do we mean Enterprise?
I think we meet TOS. I think the beginning of our experience
I
of
think
Star
you're
Trek.
right. I think you're right. Um my notes are confusing, but because I randomly have Enterprise at the beginning, but then everything else is in. Okay. So TOS 1960s. The actual space race was happening and astronauts were eating, squeezing goo out of tubes and eating little blocks of protein. And I think that is why the food in TOS looks so weird. It's basically color cubes.
With all of the
Um,
nutritional things you need.
right. And I don't really even know. You never see. Well, I shouldn't say never. You maybe see people eat them occasionally. So they might occasionally be like a hunk of honeydew or watermelon. Maybe that's probably not. They're usually richer color than that. Um,
Yes.
but I feel like it's often just like literally painted pieces of wood or Play-Doh.
I feel like it's wood cubes, like somebody just took like, a long rod of square trim and just said, "Yank, yank, yank," and then they just
Right.
spray painted it, and there you go, dinner.
Um, yeah, it's well, first of all, they have food synthesizers. There's some disagreement between so this is the way it is. This is the timeline of replicators. They didn't have replicators in the original series, and they never said the word replicator. They said they call them food slots, but retroactively, we've decided that those are food synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
On Enterprise, they had protein resequencers, which basically meant that it was a machine that used protein, kind of like a 3D printer. You had to put the protein into it and it could like resequence it to turn it into other things. And I think that the food synthesizers are a step beyond that. Um, but and then of course we get to actual replicators in TNG where it's energy into matter, which
But
is
so
confusing.
in TOS, could you like walk up to the synthesizer and be like, chocolate mousse, please?
So the way the props worked is that you had to have a floppy disk. They weren't called that, but a
Kids,
little
a floppy disk is a plastic square that had metal inside of it that had data that lived there, like pressed onto a record, and you could access that by putting it in
right.
a computer slot.
And TOS predicted that by having these little pieces of wood that were painted. And so you would walk up to your food slot and take whatever you wanted, one little piece of wood. In fact, there's a scene where there's a bunch of kids on board and Nurse Chapel is offering them ice cream and she says, "What flavor do you want?" And she fans out all these little chips like cards.
Yeah.
So each chip is a different flavor of ice cream. So you put that into the little, the little slot, and the door opens, and your food is sitting there, like an automat. Which is, I'm not even going to explain what an automat is, but
The
um,
vending machine restaurant.
right, the
A
vending machine
vending
restaurant.
machine.
Oh my god.
So, uh, I don't know that we hear them reference other foods. Like in The Trouble with Tribbles, Kirk orders a chicken sandwich and coffee, which is a weird combination. Let's acknowledge that.
I mean, some of us
I
drink coffee with
mean,
anything, so
That's
and
true.
thank you. I was gonna say, like, I did that today. I had a salad and made a fresh cup of coffee. It's like,
Well, and the thing, the door opens up, and of course it's a Tribble and a coffee cup and a Tribble on a plate. So we never actually saw the chicken sandwich. And there's another episode where he is talking to the chef. So there's a chef um saying that back on Earth it's Thanksgiving. So if the crew is eating synthetic meatloaf, I want it to resemble turkey. So yeah, like food. It's not a pretty picture of what food was like on
which
on
I
Kirk's
don't understand,
Enterprise.
but I don't understand how this future is supposed to make me excited about food. Like mean, I've gotten to the point where, what is it? Space ice cream, when they used to tell us, like, this is what astronauts eat. And they'd give you that block of chalk that was Napoleon. What is Napoleon? Chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla in the same square. And you'd peel it open and it was like Neapolitan. And it tasted like dust. It didn't have any flavor.
It was chalky.
It was, it's like eating a Tums. Like, it was just horrible.
And not something they actually ate in space because it's too crumbly. It would be a mess.
It would be a mess. It's like, okay.
I gotta say, my TOS knowledge is spotty. Like, some of these episodes I haven't seen since I was a little kid, but I don't have like a strong memory of food being a real presence in that show.
No.
Like, in the way that they imagined the universe in those early days, I don't think that it really, they never like, and granted, I think they try and keep some things vague so that they don't have to like spend all their time explaining, but there was, they never really explained the food situation on the Enterprise.
But do you remember in like, what is it, the very first episode where Pike is on the planet with the big-headed people and they were giving him the food through the slot? It's like,
the cage.
Yeah, the cage is like, just, it has all the necessary nutrients that you need. And it's like, ooh, I don't want to eat.
And we can get into your brain and make it taste like anything that you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
that's a weight loss program I would jump on board.
You got it. It just, I don't know. I mean, just, we're gonna get to it, but it just seems like food was an afterthought, and I can understand why, because it's not integral to the story, what they're doing. I think in later seasons and later series, food became more important because when you think about it, why do you share a meal with someone? To get to know them. Like, breaking bread is an important custom for a lot of people. And I think that it, for lack of a better term, like, gave humanity to all of these different races and aliens. It's like, what happens when someone comes to visit you? You feed them food of your people, right? Like, right. So, I mean,
food is a cornerstone of culture.
It really is.
And as we learn about all these other cultures, food becomes an important aspect of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're right. In the original series, they didn't use food like that. We see random things, a salad here and there, lots of cups of coffee, which looked like styrofoam cups painted silver. They probably were. They were probably empty or had water in them. But when we get into the TOS movies, there's a shift. The best part of Star Trek V, which overall is not a very good movie, the best part is, in my opinion, when Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are camping, and they're gathered around the fire, and they're eating, beans and drinking bourbon and beans, and having marshmallows, and Spock has his like marshmallow dispenser thing.
Yes. Now I should say I don't. It's lost to time, but I definitely. And I had this conversation with friend of the pod, Steve, who you may remember from bullying Ben off the podcast. He called me the other night. He's like, I can't come on and join you, but I want to say a few things.
Okay.
And that was definitely on his list. And he reminded me, if you bought like Kraft marshmallows and then you saved the UPC symbols, right, and mailed them to Kraft, they mailed you the marshmallow dispenser from that movie. It was like a plastic version of that prop, which I definitely owned. And he was like, yeah, the only way that you could have it is if you mailed in the UPC symbols, which is something that like 10-year-olds.
And we all know that Damien knows how to use the postal service,
right?
Because he has written quite a few letters. So why wouldn't he turn in a
writer
prize?
Of angry child letters.
Right. Hello, Kraft. Here is my UPC. Send me my stuff.
Dear
Thank you.
Kraft, to whom it may concern,
Sorry.
dear sir or madam, please find enclosed my marshmallow UPC symbols and please send me the marshmallow dispenser ASAP. Sincerely,
Really?
8-year-old Damien.
That's amazing.
Because it's true. That's the thing. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, but it's a moment where they're gathered as friends having food, which is
Yeah.
they're having a communal experience, which we never really see them do that in the original series. And then in the next film, Star Trek 6, food is kind of a big part of it, because they have the Klingon delegation on board for a banquet. And this particular prop food is I think it's all real food, but it all has blue food coloring on it. So according to legend, they were told they would, because the director wanted to see them actually eating and not just sitting there with their plates in front of them, that they would get paid extra by how much they ate. And William Shatner,
God bless him. He hunkered down.
He wants $1. Like he dove in and ate that like blue pasta and whatever it was.
It looks like it. I literally am looking like it looks like all pasta and then some presentation lettuce on the side. The stuff that they put on the plate just to make it pretty.
Yeah. I don't know why blue. I mean, maybe because they're drinking Romulan ale, which is blue. But
maybe all of their food, the nutritional value of blue.
But I'll tell you, if you
don't
eat the food coloring.
Wait, what's Klingon blood's color is what? Blue? Green?
So
purple.
it's in that movie, it's like Pepto-Bismol, purple, purpley pink.
Okay.
But we have also seen it just be red.
Okay. Someone has different blood, but I digress.
Well, Spock has green blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Andorians have blue blood.
Bingo. Thank you. I was like, someone has blue blood.
Not just royalty. So yeah, normally watching a movie with food in it, it's like if I work on a show that has food, I always get hungry for the food. So far, none of this has made me hungry.
No, absolutely none of it. Like cubes, blue food, no. The only thing blue in nature are like blueberries. That's not even really blue, as we've learned.
No.
It's violet because violet turned violet. Go ahead, Mike Jones.
So then we get into TNG, where food becomes, I think, a much more important part.
Mm-hmm.
We have Troy's obsession with chocolate.
Obsessed.
Oh my God.
Do you think that they were like, what do women?
Yes.
What do they love?
100%.
What is the thing that women just can't get enough of? Chocolate.
Right. Like, well, what do you give them on Valentine's Day?
Chocolate.
Flowers and chocolate.
Yes, they need to be in a heart-shaped box, little bonbons, little different. And she didn't care what she just wanted. It didn't matter how it came.
Right.
Well, and you gotta wonder how many of those sort of speeches that she does about chocolate. Like there's one where she's like slowly eating a bowl of chocolate ice cream and sort of like describing her ritual around it, right? Where you're like, how many of those were written by women writers? Probably
zero.
Probably zero. Yeah.
Zero.
She sells it though.
Oh, she sure does.
I mean, I will tell you that it never looked gross. Like it, and I'm not like a big fan of chocolate ice cream. But it did look kind of delicious, and I love the vessel, right? Like it.
Oh, that bowl she's eating it out of is like something very special.
Yeah, because I feel like it was there to like keep it at the perfect temperature, right? Because once you start eating it, it's like starting to melt. So the first bite is not as good, or the last bite is not necessarily as good as the first. So that little vessel sort of, I feel like, kept it at the perfect temperature so she could enjoy it all the way through.
So here's my question: It's synthesized. It's synthesized. What am I saying? It's replicated.
Yep.
But does that chocolate fudge sundae have the same calories in it that a real chocolate fudge sundae does?
I don't think it does. Just like synthahol doesn't have the same actual effects as alcohol.
Right. Like, don't you think by that point they would have like perfected like
It's all the
Olestra
taste
and
with no other
NutraSweet
calories.
and
Ooh,
Lestra.
anal leakage. Um,
trigger warning, anal leakage.
There's no wow chips. No.
Olean.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I mean, anyway, that was a time.
Yeah, Google that, kids.
I honestly think that everything that they're eating, you know, when it comes to next gen, no matter how we interpret it as fattening and like, oh, that's bad for you, it tastes like the thing, but it's like it's got the nutrition of broccoli, right? Like whatever is being replicated has your daily allotment of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you need to survive.
Well, then do you think that real stuff would be sought after, like, you know, like for special
Yes.
occasions? Well, just like the booze, right? Picard always has like a reserve of wine that's
Yes.
not replicated.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or do you remember there's a scene with the O'Briens early in their marriage with Miles and Keiko, right? And she
Yes.
was like, he talks about what his mother used to cook, and she was like, hold
Breakfast.
on.
Yeah.
Your mother used to cook? She used to
right.
cook real
food.
Right.
What?
She touched raw meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
So it makes it feel like it is a rare art at that point. That like that cooking is like cooking actual food is a novelty.
Well, Riker scrambles eggs and has like everyone in his quarters to celebrate the scrambling of the eggs.
He does.
He
does. And he's got a practice hand, they call it, you know, because he does like tricks as he's making it. And I think that we learned though that remember the eggs are bad. Nobody wants to eat them except
they're
Worf.
like alien eggs.
Right, because the eggs are Owan. I don't know why I remember that, but the eggs are does. I know. I'm like, can I please remember something even more Star Trek important than that? But like, you know, that he at some point learned to cook and had the skills, and it was bad not because of him, but because they didn't like those alien eggs.
Right.
But also, I feel like it depends on where you're from, right? So think about it. People who are of a different echelon never the things that they when you say, oh, everybody has the same 24 hours. Not really. If you have someone cooking and cleaning and washing and doing all that stuff, you have more hours in the day. So think about someone who's never had to cook. So they don't even know how to turn on a stove, how to boil water. Like that's easy. You put it in a pot, you put it on the stove, you turn it on. So it could be a socioeconomic thing, but it also could be, did you grow up with replicators? Is that just how food came to you versus your mother went outside because you were on a farm and you still had chickens, you know, because
also like something basic. What does water look like when it's boiling? Where else in your life do you know what that looks like as apart from at someone's home on the kitchen stove? Like, would you have a frame of reference for what water looks like when it's like, we all know what boiling water looks like, but we grew up around it.
Correct. So if you don't grow up around like eggs and putting those eggs over heat and they turn from that liquid to that solid, and you know how to season it up and
low and
slow, as Gordon Ramsay says. Add a knob of butter, some chives, and creme fraiche.
It's all about the creme fraiche.
Oh, hoity-toity, smoity. Listen.
Yeah, I know.
You don't need all that. Damien will attest to it. There was a breakfast made a long time ago.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Lenina's mom, aka the old lady.
The old lady.
Came to our the monastery where we were all living for work, right? And she made everyone breakfast, and it was like, and you know what? The thing that she made that I had never off topic, but no, we're still on topic. Is that
talking about food?
The thing that she made for breakfast that was that to me was not in my like breakfast vocabulary at the time was the like stewed apples.
Fried apples?
Fried apples, yes. Just like,
which is a bad name for them because they're not fried, but
what are they? They're like, it's like apple pie filling without the pie, right? I mean, but
it kind of is. It's
as like a side dish.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's holiday breakfast. So you all experience holiday
Mm.
breakfast, which is, potatoes, hash browns, however you want to call them, fried potatoes with fried apples, scrambled eggs, like some type of bread, whether it be a croissant or a cinnamon roll, and a
Is
juice.
it possible there was a biscuit? Were there biscuits?
Yeah. There were biscuits.
Oh yeah,
involved.
biscuits. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Breakfast is a big deal. Breakfast is
deal.
It's so different in between cultures too.
Yes.
And I didn't really realize that until I did just a little bit of traveling, and you find out that in Japan, breakfast is completely different. I mean, it's an island that it's very fish based. You start with like rice and a protein, and like
and with like a bowl of little like broth.
Yeah, it's nothing like what we have for breakfast. And then in the UK, there's like the traditional English breakfast, which is I don't know how they do it.
No offense to the English, but woo, y'all's food.
Like beans on toast is a weird thing.
But here's the thing: not even they don't even doctor it. Like baked beans. You can't just pour them out of a can into a pot and heat them and eat them. You have to doctor them up.
Yeah,
they need some brown sugar. They need some pepper. They don't even heat them up sometimes.
Or pinto beans, like it's anyway. Interestingly enough, I think that the reason Riker has a seasoned hand, as they said, is that cooking has become an art form that is handed down. It's not a necessity. It's something that people are preserving because they want to,
like handcrafted things, like someone
like
passing down
things.
the art of wood baking or relief carving.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some might say that photography would replace painting. It's like it's like different things. Replicating a meal and cooking a meal are really different experiences.
I mean, I don't want to jump the gun here, but can we talk about Cisco's? Can we talk about the restaurant?
It makes sense.
That is the only food. That's the only food that honestly, I was like, yes, take me there.
Well, and it's so funny because you watch it, and he sort of like the episode, and we can look up the name of it later, but the episode where they go to his restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And he sort of is like doing the rounds and like has this like very personal relationship with all of the patrons. And part of you is like my like asshole like knee-jerk reaction to that. I was like, oh, it's a little cringe. And then I'm like, but wait a second, like this is definitely a novelty, right? He is like preserved what is otherwise a lost art. Right. Like, Cisco Ben is like sitting there
peeling potatoes
shrimp
and stuff.
Yes, doing all of the things that are like there are machines to do. There are things that can be replicated. Like that is an archaic, unnecessary way of doing things. But people clearly go to there for the novelty of like what New Orleans used to be, or how people used to eat, and the experience of interacting with the person who did it all, and who is this. It feels more like he is an artist than we might think of a chef in our time, simply because they have ways around it. It is unnecessary.
Yeah. I think about how cooking before modern appliances happened. Like there's a random person that comes across my feed, and he's Cajun, and he cooks in a Dutch oven in open wood, an open wood fireplace. And it's like, we've made stew, like here are the beans, here are the greens, and like he's outside cooking over open fire. And I want to go to wherever he is and eat that food. No one really, he doesn't need to cook that way. He's got a kitchen with an oven, but he prefers coals and that smoke that makes it taste that much better. So I feel it's the sort of same way with Cisco. Like, yes, I can get this machine to peel these potatoes, but guess what? The inconsistency of the peel is what helps the mash better.
Right. and I don't want to get too much into economics, but those people aren't paying for the food, right? Like
Is
it's a
there money?
restaurant.
I mean, I
I-
feel like Ferengis are the only people who really care Latinum, but there have to be up. I don't know. Has always been like my biggest question
yeah,
about the Star Trek universe of like we're in a utopia, we don't have the need for that type of commerce, but
right.
yet and still there are, scavengers and things are still have value like dilithium and
Mm-hmm.
eh,
Well, and
material like
I mean, my thought when I first saw the episode where the first episode where they go to Cisco's is this poor guy. I mean, he enjoys what he's doing, but like, because he's also having medical issues in that episode. Remember, he like has like and I'm like, he should really retire. Like, I wonder if he can afford to. Like, what's the overhead on this restaurant? Like, I went into this
Right,
whole
of
like,
course, of course.
you know what I mean? Like, because no one today owns and runs a restaurant just because they love cooking. They
no,
also are paying their bills. Like, you know
correct.
what I mean?
And if they're not, they're closing
Right.
or they
And
have a very rich benefactor.
but this guy, and maybe I've watched too many episodes of Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. Um,
One of the best shows, reality shows ever created.
but uh, I can't remember Ben Cisco's dad's name.
Joseph.
Joseph. Joseph Cisco is doing this because it is an art form that he does, and the people line up outside the door every morning or every afternoon or whatever time they open. And it's like a ritual. It's not. He
Well,
doesn't have to
and he
do it.
doesn't have the belief that someone else will carry it on because his son went into Starfleet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's no one to carry on the art in his place that he trusts.
Yeah.
And so he does it for the sake of, keeping the art form alive. But also, you start getting into that stuff about money and Star Trek, and then you're like, well,
Yeah.
then how is there private property?
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
how
who
does
owns the
Picard get
building?
to
Right.
own Chateau Picard if there's no money? And like, how does he, why is he entitled to that and not somebody else?
This
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't think
It's a
too deep
slippery
into
slope.
it.
No, you can't. Yeah, you can't.
It's a slippery slope.
You have to go, okay.
But Captain
If we knew the
Sisko,
secret for how they solved it, then we would solve it.
we would solve it, right? That's
Yeah.
If we
true.
knew how to make a warp drive, we'd have
Replicators have to be key to making it
Yeah.
all work, but that's not all of it. But Ben Cisco also cooks. I mean, he will have like whole, people over in his quarters and do a whole thing. And I feel like it's stuff that his father has taught him.
Absolutely.
So there's like a carrying on of a family tradition there. And yeah, that food looks delicious. You know what doesn't look delicious in DS9? Those Jumja sticks that
Yes.
I don't
We think that's
understand.
Bajoran food, right?
It is.
it's a Bajoran
Really
sweet.
sweet.
I also heard that the like props made like 6 of those and they just reused them for 7 years.
Because why would you need to make more? Like, ooh,
And do they? Are the actors actually licking? They look like they're licking them always.
I
You
think
just like disinfect it every
I'm
time.
sure you just wash it,
Yeah.
just shellac it.
It's like Catholic Church and the wine. It's disgusting.
Just take that cloth and wipe that rim. All the germs are gone.
Just a white cloth. Jesus will keep it clean.
I that reminds me of speaking of licking fake food, prop food. I worked on a production of Cyrano de Bergerac years and years ago in another lifetime, and it was this little community theater, and they had a bunch of day-old bread donated from a grocery store, and there's a whole bakery scene. So they like basically shellacked a lot of it so that it would just stay. But then there were some things that weren't shellacked because people eat things in the scene.
Mhm.
And we were doing notes after the first like rehearsal where we used the props. And this poor girl, I'm still friends with her on Facebook. I won't say her name, but she raised her hand and she was like, I'm from Tennessee. She raised her hand. She's like, I think I ate something shellacked. It was probably just stale.
That I'd have been no more good for the rest of the day. I'd have been like, I gotta go. I
Yeah,
have
I'm
to
out.
go home. I gotta go. I'll be back tomorrow because I would have laughed so hard and loud, y'all would have kicked me out. That's really what would have
I
happened.
love
Because you
that.
have to leave. I ate something shellac. I mean, it is hard. Okay. Speaking of, we did a version of the Scottish play, and there.
Oh yeah.
Banquet.
No.
Oh no.
Where no. This was there was a scene where a young lady, daughter of the director of the show, walked out onto the lawn with it was supposed to be a heart, but it was a piece of bread soaked in this Caro syrup,
Okay.
water, goo, dyed blackish green.
It's a dark play.
And this is a child in a first communion dress, to be clear.
Dressed all in white.
Oh God.
And has picked this thing up, and it's dripping down her hand, and she bites into it every single night. And we had to make this thing every single night.
And the blood ran down the white costume. It was white every day after that, but
did she actually eat the bite, or did she like spit it out backstage?
I think it was bread. I mean, it was bread. It was sweet bread, right?
Yeah,
it was all
so she probably just ate it.
It was, but it was not.
That's gross.
It was great. It looked great, but it was disgusting. And then you had to peel her out of that dress and put her into another one immediately and like wipe her down.
Yeah.
It's good times.
Oh,
live theater. Gotta love it.
I think the peak of Star Trek prop food has to be Klingon gach.
Damien's favorite.
Yes, I love this because it's like we get this. It's a Riker episode, right, where we first learn what gach is, and he is going to go serve on the Klingon ship, and so he's like trying to acclimate himself to it. So he's in 10 forward having a feast of Klingon food,
right?
And he eats the gach, and then I think in Deep Space Nine we also get raft, which is like seems the same, but to our eyes, different kind of serpent worm. But then he gets onto the Klingon ship finally, and he's like ready to eat his gach, and then he pull the lid up, and it's still moving. And it's so great because it's like all these like gross foods are like such a great are so great at like revealing character because each of the characters react differently to them.
Mm-hmm.
So Riker is all about like I'm like embracing this new culture, I'm trying new things, right? And then as soon as he sees it moving, he's like, ugh, it's still moving. And then the guy, like, and the scene is so rich because the Klingon who's with him seems like is like this like terrifying warrior. And then he is like with him at the table and he just has this like crestfallen look on his face. And he's like, but gach is always best when served live. And he does eat it. He eats it. But it's like, talk about the prop. I mean, there's like some sort of like motorized moving thing and
there's something
prop
wiggling
worms to make them wiggle, right? I mean, it was disgusting looking.
It makes me think of that first season episode with the creatures that climb into the body. Yeah.
Yep.
They also eat worms. But I think that in that episode, they actually filmed like mealworms, like actual worms wiggling around, if I recall.
And then there were some sort of prop worms that were similar looking that they're actually
they ate, that they like pick up and drop into their mouths. But the gach, I don't think we ever see real worms. It's always something that has something underneath it that's making it wiggle. And then in Deep Space Nine, Dax, not Jadzia, Ezri Dax, has this whole thing where she can remember eating different kinds of gach and like they go down different ways. And there's some gach that has legs and
yes. And it's great because it's like, because Jadzia was like basically a Klingon, in spirit, right? Ezri was not. And so Ezri is like describing this as like a trauma to be like, to have a sense. I live with this like sense memory of eating gach, and it grosses, like it makes me want to throw up every time I remember it. It's so terrible.
So nasty.
I mean, it's like eating live octopus.
Right.
A delicacy, an Asian delicacy where it's like, it's just chopped. It is, you have to dip it in oil so it slides down and doesn't get stuck in your throat. It's the one thing that I'm adventurous with food. Like, I'll try just about anything, but I don't know the death part of me. I say no. You know, blowfish, no. Octopus tentacle in my throat.
Like trying to climb back out? No.
This is what I'm saying. No. I mean, we've all seen it. All those animals who like swallow things whole, and next thing you know, it's coming out the side. It's like chewed its way out of the side of this animal. No, thank you.
We've all seen it.
Yeah, I saw that on the subway yesterday.
Wow. I don't.
Mike doesn't know where to go from there.
I know. I did have a thought before that. I don't. I consider myself a pretty adventurous eater as well, but I stop at insects, and it's a traditional food in a lot of cultures.
High protein.
Yeah, because it's protein. You know, whether it's spiders or ants or grasshoppers or crickets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't. I just can't do it. I don't know. There's something in my brain that stops me from doing that. I've eaten lots of weird things. I mean, you know, again, being
weird is relative.
Country boy, weird is relative. You know, like, you know, rabbit, raccoon, squirrel. You know, rabbit is not that weird. is not that weird.
You get a confit leg of that at any restaurant in New York City.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
You get a rabbit ragu at the Italian place up the street from us.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You can get a cricket taco on 9th Avenue.
Yeah, well, in New York, yeah, you can get just about anything.
Well, I'll tell you that. Let's listen to this. In Washington Heights yesterday, so Colby was making curry this weekend, and could not find garam masala anywhere in Washington Heights. I traipsed to like 5 different grocery stores before I found it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's not. I mean, if you were looking for something Dominican or
we have all the Dominican things here, but not.
Oh, sure.
Not the Southeast Asian markets of it all. I have some of that upstairs in my pantry right now.
I would expect you would. Yeah. You're worldly that way.
I am. I'm
Very
weird, and
worldly.
I'm like, ooh, what can I try to make?
I think I would say though that the best food in Star Trek, not in terms of like appealingly appetizing, but in terms of like part of the culture and part of the stories, is on Deep Space Nine, right? Because they have a Klingon restaurant. Yes. As early as season 2, they're all drinking Ractigino, right? Which is
Klingon
coffee, which I take to be like.
I think it's probably delicious.
Yeah, like Cuban coffee.
I love Cuban coffee. It is a punch in your face.
I feel like you get crunked on a Ractigino.
Absolutely. Literally went to Miami, did the little tour of, of little Cuba. We're like, let's be tourists. They're like, here is a taste of Cuban coffee. Mind you, I know that there's a listening medium. Imagine a thimble. A thimble, what is it? It goes on your finger when you're sewing. What is sewing, kids? It's a needle. It protects your little finger from being stabbed. So it's like slightly bigger than a thimble. They're like, here you go. I take mine. I'm like, it's delicious. The +1 takes it back 2.5 seconds later. The sound, everyone, is the sound of a card that he's flicking because his heart is racing so much.
Oh my God.
He's like, I think I'm going to die. I was like, you're fine. What are you talking about? It's just coffee.
From the thimble.
From the thimble.
From the...
I'm telling, it was hilarious to me. I was like, it was delicious. Super sweet, super strong, punches you in the face, awake for 16 hours. I love Cuban coffee. I want to get one of those little stovetop silver ones where you put the water in, coffee in, and it boils up over into the top pot. It's like a 2-part system. Espresso goes in the bottom with the water and it pumps all up through. I don't know. We'll find a picture of it. I'll show it to you.
And that's how you make Cuban coffee?
Because it makes the coffee so concentrated, and then I feel like they add sweetened condensed milk is what makes it sweet.
That makes sense. Yeah, but it's
You like
espresso
Cafe
based.
con leche in Washington Heights, and there is something in that cream that is like
it's sweetened condensed milk. I literally keep it in the fridge.
And then they're like, "How many sugars do you want? 8?" No.
light and sweet, please. That is going to get you 3 full teaspoons of sugar in that.
And you will literally never be constipated in your life.
Ever. Shake it, put that napkin on the top of that lid, give it a once over, 2 over, 3 over. You're good to go for the day.
Oh my gosh. While we're talking about coffee, I feel like we have to just jump ahead to Captain Janeway, and it's the finest organic suspension ever invented. She beat the Borg with it.
Yes.
Well, that I have I have a mug that I keep at work that has like the little Voyager drawing, and it says there's coffee in that nebula.
Right.
I wish I could change
coffee in that nebula.
There you go.
That's the same episode where Neelix says that they're out of coffee, and he's like, I try this, and I forgot what it's called. He was like, it's a little richer, and it like glugs out. It's like a thick syrup.
Yeah, what they used to say, make the coffee strong enough to chew. I think that he won in that one. No. Neelix couldn't cook, so just you mentioned.
Yeah.
Let's his name.
Let's go there.
Why couldn't we just keep replicators? Like, why did there need to be like a full kitchen of this tiny little alien trying to create things that did not look appetizing? Anything that came out of there, I was like, no.
I think it was supposed to be like they have limited power reserves, so it was the replicators take a lot of power. But here's the thing I'll say about Neelix's cooking.
Fire,
and it's a little problematic, but the most exotic things he make are, if you really look at them, it's just like Asian food, like it's like the
quote unquote Asian food,
right? It's like the props people are like, we need something really exotic, let's go to the Asian grocery store and buy something.
Let's get a wok.
Yes,
let's get some woks.
Well, actually, so I was listening to the Delta Flyers podcast, and they did the very first Ferengi episode of Deep Space Nine, the Nagus, right? They're talking about that and about how they're all eating like grub worms and stuff, because like Ferengis eat like worms and insects and stuff, right?
Right.
And they're doing it with chopsticks. And I forget one of the actors was like, on Star Trek, that you see them eat a disproportionate number of meals with chopsticks, because it looks alien, right? Because it's not a fork and knife.
There was a quote unquote alien.
Sorry, there was a quote. I did air quotes.
Yeah. Air quotes.
That it looked alien. Sorry, I was not being racist. As using air quotes. And that it looked alien, and that, but that it was chopsticks. You don't have to make looking futuristic.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I had to think that over. I'm like, do we think that there's a disproportionate use of chopsticks as eating utensils on Star Trek as opposed to fork and knife?
I don't know. I can't answer that, but I know that in my house I prefer to eat with chopsticks. Like, it's an easier.
I prefer certain foods with chopsticks, but I think that it goes back to the original series. Alien equaled foreign, really,
not fork and knife,
right? And beyond food, if the Enterprise was the United States, every alien world they went to had Persian rugs and belly dancers, and and it's actually just another culture. Like, it's not really alien,
they're exotic, quote unquote.
Right. So some of that carries over, I think, in the food in like the Berman era. Some of the alien food is just, like Leola root, which is the thing that Neelix, it's just ginger. I mean, look at it. They just went to the store and bought ginger.
But that's what I mean. If you look at his kitchen, I had to go, because I just remember it being a mess.
Yeah.
Like, seemingly very dirty.
Like plasma burner things.
It just was too much. It was too much. It was like, I feel like someone went to like, maybe Korea or China, and there's like in the street markets where it's like,
Yeah,
okay, you
street
can go
food.
to street food, delicious, by the way. Whew,
Absolutely.
tteokbokki, so good. Like, and you walk up, what do you get? They make it fresh for you and it's delicious. But it's like they bastardized it and made it seem like all you need is fire and a wok and the food will be good. Like, what are we doing? Neelix, like, I don't
But
trust him. He just
is
looks
he a
dirty.
chef at all, or is he, because
No.
his whole
No.
like MO on that show is that he has a desperate need to be needed and to please.
Absolutely.
Desperate.
And
Right.
he like, took a look around and immediately was deeply in love with Janeway and would do anything for her, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And was like, what do these people need? What can I do for them? I know, I'm a
What can
chef.
I can
Right,
make
I can
food
cook.
and
I can fake it. I can fake it.
I can do it. And if you look at the like this, like the vegetables and the things, it's like normal things. It's like cucumbers, dried I'm literally dried ancho chilies hanging. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are we doing? What do we do? And no one ever ate it. I was happy.
Yeah. Well, the running gag is that his food was inedible. Well, and that he was flavoring things. Like he makes plomeek soup for Tuvok at one point, which is a vegetarian Vulcan soup, which is very bland, right? Like it's Vulcan soup. I mean, it's probably just broth.
Yep, like dashi, just
Right. But
kombu.
he spiced it up and made it like spicy, and because he couldn't help it. So it's like his sense of taste is so not human or Vulcan that he has to put his own flavor on everything. He shouldn't be the cook.
He shouldn't. He shouldn't be the cook. He should not be the cook.
Yeah.
You know who should always be the cook? Captain Pike.
Always be
absolutely.
The cook. That food, I'd eat anything that came out of his kitchen.
Well, also like when we first meet him in Strange New Worlds, he is making breakfast for his girlfriend the morning after, and it's so sexy, right?
I didn't catch that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like baked into the character from the beginning of his
correct
interpretation.
One, that he's going to take care of you, and then he's going to take care of you.
And actually, this is a credit to friend of the pod, Steve. He reminded me of the scene where there's like a staff meeting in one of the early episodes where Pike is cooking for everyone, and La'an shows up and she's like all business, and she's like,
yes.
And she's like, we have important things to talk about, and then it's like, what, I made breakfast, and she's kind of like resistant to it, and she's like, fine. She starts eating, and she's like against all odds, reluctant. She has to literally stop and was like, oh my God, this is delicious.
Exactly. Because that is what, no matter how angry you are.
Yeah.
It's smart that they made that a big part of his character. It's really the full circle the full journey from the original series where the ritual of gathering around food, breaking bread, it is not really there to it being an integral part of how he runs his ship. I mean, his quarters are half kitchen.
Yeah. It's a nice open concept floor plan. I like it.
It is an excellent kitchen. I want that kitchen because everybody sits like it means that you're entertaining while you're cooking at the same time.
Love it.
Yeah.
But honestly, he is sort of like a step up from Picard. Remember when they'd go to the captain's quarters and they'd have like meals? Well,
he definitely had breakfast with Beverly and his quarters.
Breakfast with Beverly. Who would have? My brain is broken.
I think you're thinking of Cisco.
Am I thinking of Cisco where they would all come and sit around and shitty chat and eat? I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna Google.
Or you might be thinking of Enterprise, because Captain Archer definitely did that. Because we started in production order, we didn't talk about how on the NX-01 they had their protein resequencers, but there was a chef on board, and there was the captain's galley, which was just him and the the main cast,
the character, the bridge
crew. And they often ate together, and
Yeah,
it
that is
was
what I'm
used as
thinking
a
of
yeah,
as like a sort of like team building, sort of like we're gonna get together and eat
yeah.
and talk about our day and who we're gonna.
And he always had iced tea. I think they tried to make iced tea like, Card had Earl Grey,
Earl Grey.
Janeway had coffee, and they
Mhm.
tried to make Archer have iced tea.
And Cisco had Ractigino.
And Cisco had Rectigino. Yeah, they all had like a beverage.
Yeah,
Um,
Earl Grey hot. It's truly just it just warms you up. You're just like, that is.
I fucking love the moment in All Good Things, the final Next Generation episode, where
oh,
Data's housekeeper offers him tea, and he's like, Earl Grey hot. And she's like, of course it's hot.
of course it's hot.
Of course it's hot. And then he serves it, and he's like, I could swear this is Darjeeling. And she's like, huh, funny.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I
That's
think
so
about that
good.
a lot. I
Yep,
should
I think
rewatch
about
that
it too
episode.
much.
It's like things that just live rent free in your head, like
Mhm.
one liner quotes, like of course it's hot, like that just lives there for me. I don't know why.
Yes.
But I'll cut out this pause, or I won't.
No, I love it. Like
No,
it's like your
because I
brain
looked at your
broke.
face, I was like, I feel
It's
it's coming.
broken.
It's coming. It's
I know.
coming.
I was like, I feel like
Did you
we've
freeze
skipped
it?
something. I feel like we skipped something that was important. But we'll jump ahead to what I wanted to talk about next, whether we skip something or not. On Lower Decks, this is the show that I'm usually jealous of what they're eating. It's animated, but they usually have like tacos,
Yep.
burritos,
Yep.
pizza. What like the stuff they're
Food.
eating looks delicious.
They have food.
I like
what they have.
I don't know if it's just supposed to be like, oh, they're young and they're sitting around eating, but
No, you know what they are? Because like the more I watch that show and the more those like the lower decks peep kids, guys, girl,
Yeah.
whatever crew have fanboy, fangirl moments, right? We got so many of those this season, especially in the crossover episode, right?
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, they're us. That's what we're eating while we're watching. Because in all these ways, like they are the avatar for literally us.
Right,
Yes.
right. They're having nachos and
Exactly.
fan
What are we eating?
grilling out.
Pizza. Yes.
I'm eating a burrito. Why
yeah,
was he having that
that sure
bland
makes
bowl
me
of
hungry.
rice? I ate before this so that I wouldn't be. I said, we're going to be talking about food. Let me have a bowl of the rice-a-roni, the San Francisco treat that I made yesterday,
Oh,
and some chicken on top. It was delicious.
well, that sounds great. Okay, so here's something that's I clocked as weird on Lower Decks. And
Yeah.
again, I think they were just trying to delineate between the lower deckers and the, upper
Thrusters.
deckers,
Upper deckers. Mhm.
senior officers, that they don't have the good replicators. That their replicators can't produce, like they can do pizza, but only one slice at a time. And they can't do macaroni and cheese with the breaded topping. And, like things like that. Like, because there's the episode where they have to kind of switch places with the senior officers, and the senior officers realize how terrible they're eating, and they give them like one good replicator.
Mhm.
It's like that doesn't make any sense.
Yes, it does. You have to earn good food. And speaking of replicators, I told you that I have a random question. Who programs them? Is it that there is some database that has all of the food of all of the places, and it goes tick-a-ding, and it goes in there, and then all of the matter that you need, like, is someone loading up, like, okay, so then the new drink machines where it's like you can have your rum, your vodka, your tequila, your gin in it, and then you put a pod and you press play and it makes your drink, right? But you have to have all.
I'm
Oh,
unaware
no?
of this like
Oh,
alcoholic Keurig. It sounds amazing.
It sounds
is
like one of the like Coke machines you see at the movie theater.
kind of, sort of.
Oh yeah.
But they're like 4 bottles. So you have your 4 basic liquors, and then there are these little pods. So you want to make a cosmopolitan, it's going to be like a cranberry extract pod. You put it in, and the machine sucks up the vodka, shoves it through the pod with a little bit of water, bang, drink. that is only, you can only make so many drinks with these 4 alcohols, right?
Mhm.
A replicator, you're saying to it, gach. You're saying to it, pizza, cheese, peppers. Right. You're saying hot dog, tater tots. I mean, I don't know, like, where, how? I know it's the future.
It's a vast database
Gotta
of
be.
matter,
but the universe
patterns,
is
molecular
infinite.
patterns.
So is it like the minute you meet a new culture, you're like, what foods do you eat?
Well, so
Yes,
they
give
do
us your
encounter,
entire culinary database. Go.
right. They do encounter sometimes people will want something and it's like, oh, that's not in the computer. But we can program it in. I don't know how they program it in. Like,
What
do you have
does
to
that
know the molecular
mean?
structure of your food?
No, do you just give it the ingredients, like saying it's got carrots and potatoes and celery and
But a
pepper?
carrot is an Earth thing. Do they have carrots on other planets? Probably not.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's got
They have
a
Leola
star
root,
fruit,
but
That's
which is
Leola's right.
ginger. You know what I mean? Like how we call, like, it's either cilantro or, damn it, cilantro. What do they call it in Europe?
Oh,
Not cilantro. It's another C word. Cilantro, otherwise known as
coriander.
coriander, right.
Like, so that's the thing. I say carrot, you say jumjiao. I don't know. Like, it is wild to me how no matter what is asked for, like, this is what I think about. What is asked for, they're like, sure, you can have it. How? How, Sway? How?
We've come a
Michael.
long way from each ice cream flavor having a different floppy disk to being able to just say any food imaginable and it does it.
Yeah, and I feel like people have very specific tastes. Like, I'm like, Damien has a very specific level of ripeness that he wants on a banana. So can you
I
say...
want it to not be crunchy. I want it to not be crunchy. Like
Yeah.
a crunchy green banana, like
No one
makes
wants
literally.
because it's paste. Why would you do that?
You're the green banana lover.
No, let's be clear. Let's be specific.
Right.
I like a banana that is slightly green because it's then not super sweet. It just has started to get a little extra flavor. I don't want them brown bananas.
She gives the speech like right after calling me particular about
Ah!
I know, but I'm particular about food. I'm particular about food. Like, there are certain things from, like, yes, it has to be this way. I don't know. It hurts my head to think about how much food there is in the world, and then to multiply that by the universe and the amount of people who are on that ship from different places. Do they all get their food?
Well, I mean, it all breaks down to the same elements, right? I mean, I guess I feel like Erin should be here now because she's the smart one who knows things about science. But
yes.
There's all the elements in the periodic table, plus
yes,
if there are other elements on other planets,
which there are.
So it just breaks down, everything breaks down to that, right?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm saying that like I know.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded smart.
It did, didn't it?
It sounded you sounded smart. As I'm literally Googling how do they put all the food in the replicators. Now I'm on Wikipedia, replicator, Star Trek.
That's amazing.
Also, hold on. Time out. When you ask for Earl Grey hot, it puts it in a mug. Where do the dishes go? Do they just go back into the machine and are sucked up into the...
Yeah.
Where do the dishes go?
I think
matter reclamation.
Because you put the dirty dishes back on it and it like basically transports them and then turns them into whatever the transporter turns you into, that you can get stuck in the buffer that like energy, and then you can make anything. But the weird, they say in Discovery, it's in the future. It's in like it's all in the future, but the season of Discovery where they got to the 32nd century or whatever it is, that the food they don't waste anything. So she's eating replicated food and he's like, you're eating our poop,
Who
like,
said that?
The Admiral, what's his name? Yeah, Admiral Vance, from The Mummy. That's what I think of him as being from. But yeah, like he says that to the Orion woman who's like the head of the cartel or whatever. Um, I will look up the scene and send it to you. But it makes me think that so everything gets recycled. Everything. The look on Lanita's face.
I don't want to know where her brain just went, but it went someplace disgusting that she's not coping in the moment.
I'm not, because the only thing that everything is recycled is that I can think about Interstellar. No. What was the one with Matt Damon where he was stuck on Mars and he had to use his poop to make potatoes? Come on, y'all did not watch this movie?
The Martian, not
The Martian.
The Martian? Yeah.
Yeah, where he had to figure out how he could survive on Mars. So that is when you use your poop for things. You don't eat your poop. You can drink your pee because it's sterile and it'll keep you hydrated. I wouldn't want to. I don't think you should, but if you had to, so you don't die, you do it. But you don't eat your poop. Your poop doesn't have any nutritional value. Your poop is all the waste from your body. No to the poop.
She got a doctor in the family.
I also watched The Magic School Bus and Miss Frizzle
and Grey's Anatomy.
And
Grey's Anatomy.
The only time you eat poop is when you destroy all your healthy bacteria in your gut and they do a poop transfer. It's a real thing.
Oh no, I heard about this.
Poop transfer?
Yeah.
Fecal transfer.
Fecal transplant.
You kill.
Who's the donor?
Anybody. Well, you need someone's poop. There are people who get paid for their poop.
They have healthy poop with good bacteria.
Mm-hmm. And you literally have, like, if you destroy all of your healthy gut bacteria, the only way to reintroduce is like making yogurt. You need yogurt to make yogurt. You need poop bacteria to give you good poop bacteria.
Wow.
Trigger warning. There you go.
This is a major trigger warning.
I had a friend who had to FedEx her poop to a special place for like some sort of problem. And then what did she do? She brought it to work and kept it in the fridge until she could get to the FedEx.
Ew.
Yep.
Lanita is agreeing like a little too vigorously. So just to be clear, we don't believe that it was her. This is not her story. She clearly seems privy to it.
Let's be clear. I admit to things, but admitting to bringing poop into work, no, thank you. Not me.
Okay.
Not I, said the cat. What you got in the chat?
I put in the chat the link to this scene because I swear I didn't make it up. Where we find out that the replicators are poop. I will put this link in the show notes.
Which, God bless. Do you know, like, if we could find out a way to do that, like, so many problems would be solved.
Right.
You just have to get past some, like, mental blocks. She's got a mental block. She's not making words because there's a mental block. If we get past that.
Get past poop? What? Damien.
Yes, go ahead.
No, listen. Okay.
Coherently, please.
Okay. Okay. No. There's limits. There are lines, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
I know that there are people who don't believe that. I know that
the
there are people who
shall be drawn. Yeah.
That's my line. It's my line. I'll die before poop. Nope. No. We're not eating poop. No, Damien.
Cisco would never serve that.
He would never. He would never serve that. If we
all right.
Get past that. Go ahead, Mike Jones. Please get us back on track. Where are you? What is happening? You're failing us now.
I know.
Let
I'm trying
Damien
to
derail us into
what? No, Mike was.
No, I think I'm the culprit. I'm the problem. It's me. No, I think we've kind of covered Star Trek food for the most part. Yeah, I'm looking back through my notes to see if we didn't mention Captain Kirk scrambling eggs in the Nexus, and he puts dill in his eggs. So I'm not interested in that.
Well, I'm not a
Um,
real fan of dill, so no thank you.
So here's the thing that I learned today in my research, because this is another one of those things that stuck with me, right? Is that early on in Deep Space Nine, we learned that Jadzia Dax, and like Curzon before her, is a fan of steamed asna, which they don't explain what that is. But Cisco says, oh, it's like steamed asna? Like, really? Steamed? He's like, sauteed, sure, fricasseed, rolloped. And all of this time, I thought that rolloped was like a
Cooking
technique,
technique?
like a saute.
yeah, it sounds like
which,
scalloped.
yeah. And so I found that line and then Googled it, and rollop was invented in that line in Deep Space Nine. So, and also if you can contradict me, anyone listening, if rollop, ROLLOP, is like a thing that you do to food, please tell me what it is, because I want to know. But what I feel as though I learned today is that DS9 made up rolloped asna.
I mean, they're scalloped, which we all know is sliced potatoes with cheese and cream. Walloped, which is to hit someone. But no, I don't think that. And here's the thing: was it in the script, or was it like a?
Here's the thing that I've learned about Star Trek. Everything is in the script.
Oh, sure, yeah. They don't.
Everything is letter word perfect. They want everything.
Yeah.
I forget. There's like a
line coach.
Right. There's a line coach, and there's like a
script person.
A script person, and there's a thing that she says. It's like a never mind. I'm losing it.
No.
There's like a phrase that she says. It's like dead letter perfect or something.
Right. Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So no, it's in the script.
I've heard those
Everything's
stories.
in the script.
Yeah, it has to be.
It's only in the sort of newer Star Trek that they're like a little bit allowed.
Let's play a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure Lower Decks has a little bit of improv.
Has to
happening. Oh yeah.
And we never find out what asna is.
Never. Wow. It is a dish that can be sautéed, fricasseed, rolloped, or steamed.
But here's the thing.
Sounds like a vegetable.
I mean, maybe, or
it sounds like a fish, or like
think about it. Like, if you have like a piece of chicken, do you want like steamed chicken? No. Let me fry it. Let me smother it. Let me marinate it.
We always used to fricassee, which is like, I had to look that up too.
You didn't? Oh, I'm not a fan.
Butter.
Yeah, but there's a coating on the meat, and it's sort of like it was crunchy, but now it's like smothered in a sauce that now that breading is not crunchy. Nope.
Sounds like a texture problem.
You've ruined it. Why? You've ruined it. What are you doing? Fry it and put it on my plate. The fry is crispy. Why are we smothering it in a sauce? No. Go ahead. I'm listening.
I think that's it.
As I say, no to fricassee. Yes, very, very strong feelings about.
If we're winding down, I would like to add, not to put pressure on anyone present, but I did buy my first Starfleet uniform over the weekend.
Hey, where is it?
I mean, it's not arrived yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Over the weekend. It's Wednesday. Oh, it wasn't Amazon. That's why it's not here yet.
No, that's like a specialty vendor.
Amazon. I ordered it too. It's coming from China.
When's it gonna get here?
Hopefully in time, but I'm tracking it.
Yes. And also, I do have a cat suit. And
is it white?
No, it is burgundy. I'll let you figure that out.
A 7 of 9.
I know we're doing 7, but I need you to be Dr. Colbert one year. Culver. Like, I just need you to take your little muscly butt and put it in some white spandex and just be. And we'll take some pictures for your Just for Fans.
for my Just for fans. There's some. Well, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm very white, and she just almost did a spit take.
I almost spit out this tea on my computer.
Dr. Culver, played by one Wilson Cruz, who we might also remember from our childhood. My
Yes.
Life. Yes, we
my
all know
so-called
this.
life.
Yes. So there's that. So,
But what did I say? Do blackface? No, I said put on the suit.
Right.
Like this is what we need. This is where we need to come to in society. You can put on a costume played by someone who is not of your same ethnicity and not feel the need to make yourself that ethnicity.
Right.
You can just wear the costume.
Yeah, it's just a medical,
we'll get it.
Medical uniform. Does he still wear? He doesn't wear that anymore, right? Now that they're
he
in
has
the colorful.
It's a little less baby.
Yeah.
Or babish.
I say go with the original.
Yeah, the challenging thing about a lot of those uniforms, costumes, is that the fabric has the little things printed on it. They printed the fabric with the little symbols, so you have to figure out how to get that. Yeah.
Well, mine is going to be full on booger drag, right? Like I'm not shaving my mustache to be 7 of 9.
No, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
Fine.
So, and also, and I have not done this yet, but Mike got the costume for his cartoon avatar, which I feel as though I will do as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's not the one you ordered?
No, I mean, this is a 3-day event.
I've got a different outfit for every day. I do want to mention that, which I'm going back to food for 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
That in my Star Trek and food, these fools, no, I shouldn't call them fools because they're nerds and I love it. It's like, let's make recipes for the food that we see on the show.
Right. Yeah.
Let's make cookbooks, which I think is kind of fun.
They
exist.
Yeah, they exist.
And I wonder who was the first person who was like, let's make a cookbook. Like, let's try to figure out how can you make gak and it not be worms. I mean, I know the straws with the Jello, but that
right.
Ooh,
because I'm sure there's a way to paint gummy worms a darker color and then put them in a bowl with something that's moving so that they move, right? I mean,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, we used to peel grapes and then put them in a bowl, and you'd think they were eyeballs, or take Jello and it's a brain and do sort of the Jello brains and whatnot.
I think now there has to be gak at someone's next Halloween party. I mean, that's like the
yeah. We can figure this out.
If I had a Halloween party, sure.
Oh yeah, exactly. Who has time? Like literally by then, I talked in the podcast last time. I still have those mushrooms behind me that I haven't done in 3 years.
Who's got time for parties? I can't even do my shrooms.
Ain't nobody got time for that. I tried to mark a day on the calendar. And you know what? Also, here's another parting thought: is that I had a long drive over last weekend, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm listening to a podcast. So I listened to us. Because I was like, oh, it's just like hanging out with my friends in the most direct way, right? And it is a common thing where at a certain point, Mike says, well, I think we've covered it. And then we continue to talk for another 15 minutes. So if you haven't learned this already, check the timestamp on your little device before you start to think that we're almost done.
That is hilarious.
We're not. Because we're not. We just keep talking.
Well, you always remember things that I haven't thought of, or that but
I just have random thoughts, and then I make you all
great.
Deep dive into your brain, your Star Trek files. I'm like, yes, that, no, this.
Our culinary database.
I'm telling it really that takes me out.
Blows your mind.
It does, and I guess it shouldn't, because we have the internet and you can Google anything, or Bixby. Sure. I think that went away. Ask Jeeves. Kids, that was a former site where you could search just like Google. I should assume that with all that technology, there's easy to suck it into the subspace network and
There's got to
plug
be.
it into the replicator.
There's got to be.
Yeah.
Well, let us know what your favorite Star Trek food is by shooting us a tweet. A tweet. I know. I still call it Twitter. Oh,
And
we
you
joined.
will.
I
We
think
joined
everybody
Blue
sucks.
Sky.
Oh,
Well, huh?
So Blue Sky is like an alternative to Twitter.
What do they do?
I wonder if it's going to take off, but I made an account so that we would get our name for Hailing Freak Open
Yeah.
on Blue Sky and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. But please, yeah, let us know what you would like to eat from the Star Trek universe. If you had a replicator in front of you right now, what food would you want it to make?
raw Tasman.
Just so you could know what it is.
Just so I can know what it is. Yes.
Fair enough.
All
Not
right.
as bad as steamed.
It's not, but yeah. We'll
And way
order
better
both,
than
compare
fricassee.
them. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. And with that, I will say, Hailing Frequencies closed.
No goodbyes. Just good memories. Hailing frequencies closed, sir.
I am alone in the Zoom room. Since it's being recorded, I figured I'd sing a little ditty for everyone who has to listen to it before we post. Ha 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 ha. Where's Mike Jones? Ha 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 ha. Where's Dame Azan? Aaron is missing in the Kool-Aid. Ben is out in the mountains. But we still do the show because we are the best and people love us. Yeah. Oh, having all the power for the moment I'm alone. Heating blanket going on so that I'm not cold. Talking about some food on this episode. Good thing I ate my dinner. So I'm not thinking about it the entire time, because that would be terrible. Bending down to plug in my blanket so I can stay warm. Wondering how they got all the recipes for the food. Is there just some main database that you upload your recipes to? It's gonna be funny.